The Your Safe Space podcast is recorded on Wurundjeri land. This podcast acknowledges the traditional owners and custodians of the land. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Welcome to Your Safe Space, the podcast. I'm your host, Adele Marie, and this podcast is here for you. It is a safe space for us to catch up each week to discuss anything and everything. And on today's show, we are doing an Ask Me Anything on air. It's AMA on air, it's Friday, and these are my favorite episodes to record. I always say this, but they are the short, sharp, juicy ones. I get to cover a little bit more. You guys submit your questions every Monday night through my Instagram at Adele Marie. Go and follow me if you're not. And then I give you my hot take. Obviously, it goes without saying that this podcast is not a replacement for professional mental health help or support. And if you do need that, please check the show notes. But we are going to get straight into it. I don't want to waste any time today. I also hope that you've had a good week, and I hope you're doing something fun or exciting or relaxing on the weekend. And I hope that you're looking after yourself. We are jumping into the first question straight away. My boyfriend of 5 years recently broke up with me. I'm 30 at the end of the year and I feel nervous about my future. I know that I want kids, but I am also worried that I'm running out of time. And I just want to send this listener a big hug. This listener is someone in the community, and I obviously recognize them from their username. I'm not going to obviously disclose that. And I just want to say that I'm so sorry that you were experiencing this. I've done a couple of previous AMA episodes on going through a breakup later in life. They can be really hard. They can be very damaging, especially if you thought that you were going to spend the rest of your life with this person or you had future plans with this person. And they can be very difficult to navigate. The other thing is, I don't know what stage of healing you're at. You did say recently. I don't know how recently that is, if it's last week or if it's last month or if it's at the start of the year. But everything you are saying and everything you have written, I just want you to know that I hear you, I see you, it is valid. You are experiencing a very normal response, and I know it can feel quite painful and heavy, but all of the stuff that you're saying is what I would expect someone to say if they've just gone through that same thing. And I'm going to give you some tips and things that I would do or I would recommend you try to navigate through this period, because it can be very overwhelming, it can be very challenging, and I want to obviously give you some of that support. I do think that you do need to isolate the breakup first. And as I said, I don't have that context as to how long it's been or what stage of the healing you're at, but I think you do need to focus on healing from that. I also don't know why your relationship ended. I'm not sure. I don't think it really matters if you ended it or they ended it or whatever the situation is. I think when you go through a breakup, you do have to heal from it. You do have to work through the emotions that come up, and you have to allow yourself to grieve. And I've done many episodes on breakups. There's a breakup guide that I would recommend you going to listen to. There's also a whole ass healing series on TikTok that I would recommend you watching. But it is really important that you allow yourself to feel that sadness, that you allow yourself to feel that grief, and just allow yourself to sit in the pain after a relationship ends. And it can be really hard because I know we don't want to feel those emotions and we don't want to allow ourselves to feel that. But the only way that you can work through it is by feeling it. And I think sometimes I've even been guilty of this. You want to suppress it, you don't want to feel it, you want it to go away, but that just keeps you stuck and stops you from moving forward. So give yourself time to move through that. And I would recommend, obviously, all the things I recommended in the breakup episode: surrounding yourself with a good network, leaning on your friends, leaning on your family. I'm not sure if you are in therapy, leaning on your psychologist or a therapist or a counselor, or if you've got someone like that in your network. And it's just important that you have that support around you while you're going through something like this. The other thing I'll say is, once you start to move through that breakup healing process, because I think there's 3 parts to the breakup, right? You've got the first part, grieving, the second part where you are processing everything, and then the third part where you're starting to like rebuild and get your spark back or coming back to yourself. You know that feeling when you start to feel like you again? That will happen. The way you get there though is to focus on rebuilding that trust, rebuilding that relationship that you have with yourself. So doing activities that bring you joy. Maybe there's hobbies that you've been wanting to try. Maybe you want to spend more time with your friends or spend more time with yourself. It is pursuing things that will make you happy and bring you joy and get you through that process of healing. Obviously, Taking care of yourself after a breakup is key. And there's a few aspects there, mentally, emotionally, physically, making sure that you're doing that as well. And then once you're out of like that really heavy pain, and you might even be at this point now, but if you are at that point, do some reflection on the breakup and sit with it and try to unpack obviously why it ended and understand what you are then looking for moving forward. And I think even though breakups are so shit, there is this like beautiful thing that happens where if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, you learn something. You learn about yourself, you learn about what you do want, you learn about what you don't want, you learn how to maybe show up better for your next partner, you learn how to identify what you want down the track from your next partner. And you can then be able to see any patterns that you've had, and you can also look to improve or find a partner that's more aligned down the track. I really recommend taking it day by day. And I can already see in your question, you're thinking so far ahead because you're thinking about your birthday, you're thinking about turning 30, you're thinking about having kids. Take it back. Take it back and just take it day by day. Try not to rush ahead to worry about that yet. And on the aging, because I think this question is like multiple parts, but on the aging, go back and listen to my aging episode. And please trust me when I say this, but I spent a better part of this first 3 months of this year freaking out about turning 30. Similar to you, I was turning 30. I'm single. I don't know if I want kids. Different, obviously, situation, but I was freaking the fuck out. I was literally having midlife crisis. I don't know if you can call it midlife crisis, but I made a whole ass podcast episode on it and had a bit of a mentee bee. And having turned 30 now, nothing changed. It happens. I think the anticipation of it is so like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. But then it happens and you're like, oh, like it's the same. I haven't even noticed any extra gray hairs or any extra wrinkles. Maybe that's because I got Botox. But that turning 30 and feeling like you're running out of time, it's bullshit. Okay. Do not spend the rest of this year panicked because you were turning 30. Okay. Listen to that aging episode. It unpacks a lot of what society has done to make us panic about aging. And it also reframes aging as gratitude for getting older. I also don't know if you guys have seen this, but on TikTok, there's this aging filter, and a lot of people have been using it and like freaking out saying, oh, now I'm going to use SPF, or now I'm really going to do my skincare. But then other people have used it and said, I can't wait to get to this age. It is a luxury to get to this age. If I get to this age, I'll be lucky. And that is the truth. And I really think if you just take it day by day and pull it back and try not to worry about where you're going and try not to stress about the future and just stay present in the moment, that can bring you some peace. As for the wanting to have a child, because as I said, there's multiple parts here. I think it's fantastic that you know. I think it's amazing that you know. And I think this information will help you date with ease and clarity moving forward. Okay. And whenever you're ready to get back out there, I'm not saying get back out there now, but if you are feeling ready and you want to get back out there, know that you can take small steps in that right direction. You can be very clear with the type of people that you are planning to date or wanting to date, that that is what you're after. If having children is a priority and you're not having that luck dating, you can explore other options with parenthood, potentially having a baby by yourself and exploring doing it solo potentially, or just having a clearer vision on finding a partner who wants the same thing as you or who will want that at the same time as you. Obviously, my overarching advice is life is so unexpected, and it's really important that we don't lose hope. And this goes for anyone listening to this podcast and even for myself. Like, you just never know what's around the corner. You never know what could happen in the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You just never know. And if I look at positive examples in my life, or if I look at positive evidence in my life of maybe people having babies later in age, or people getting married later in age, or people finding their true love at like 40 or 50 or 60, like, it gives me hope and gives me peace. And so I don't know if you have people like that in your life that you can reflect on and see that other people have had it work out for them at a later age and it's been okay. That could be a way to also bring you some peace. But I just want to give you a big hug and say good luck. You've got this. One day at a time, one step at a time. It's going to be okay. And please don't waste the rest of the year stressing about turning 30. It's okay. And once you get to the 30 clubs, it's actually quite fun. All right. On to question number 2. How do I become more confident in social settings and make new friends? And I wanted to put this one in here because I have done episodes about making friends in the past. So if you want to go back and listen to that, you can. But I wanted to focus on the confidence in social settings. Now, I personally think that it's something anybody can work on. And I fully believe this because in my last job, my job was literally to talk to people and convince them to like sign a very expensive, lots of money contract, right? A lot of the time, these people would be strangers. They would be older businessmen, and it was very intimidating and it was very scary, but I did it. And I think it taught me how to have good conversations. I think it taught me some really good social skills and taught me some really good confidence. And I want to share some of those tips with you because I think it could help. And I think if you are wanting to work on this skill, like anything I mentioned on this podcast, you absolutely can. So, the first tip is exposure therapy. And this looks like challenging yourself and putting yourself in these social settings. It is saying yes when people want to invite you somewhere, it is putting your hand up, it is putting yourself in situations that you would maybe usually say no to so that you can get exposed to this type of environment. The thing that will happen is every positive experience you then have will get a little bit easier, and that fear of it or that worry that you might be having will slowly lessen, which I think will make the interactions easier. So, what I would say is the next time you have an event or you have something that you want to go and attend, have a bit of a plan. Write down some questions that you could ask someone, or actually go up and speak to a stranger and say hi and introduce yourself. And I know it can be so overwhelming, but the more you do it, the better you will get at it and it will become second nature. Secondly, I want you to start active listening. And this is really good if anyone works in sales. If you want to take this tip as well, go for it. But paying attention to what people say during the conversation will show very genuine interest between you and them, obviously helping you make a friendship or make a sale as well. But active listening demonstrates that you value what they're saying, that you respect them, that you are making effort, and they can see that. People can feel that. If you're wondering what active listening is, it is literally just paying attention. So it is listening to what the person is saying and then asking them questions about what they have just said, right? So if you're in a conversation with someone, I know you might want to have premeditated questions, which is fine, but they might say something about like, oh, I'm going away with family, I'm going to this place. And then you might say, oh, like, where else are you going? And have you been there before? And you might be able to say, are there any other travel plans? Like, you can kind of lead on questions from that. Obviously, that will encourage the other person to share more things, and that kind of keeps the conversation flowing too. My next tip is to be yourself. And I say this because I know sometimes we might have low confidence, especially if we struggle in social settings, but being you is the ultimate way to build an authentic connection. And being you is going to be enough. There is no point pretending to be somebody else. The only time I'll say that you pretend or lean into different energies, like fake it till you make it, but still be you, right? But sometimes you have to fake that confidence about you to get you into that social setting. Obviously, being genuine and true to yourself is going to build a good foundation for making friends and meeting people. So it's never a bad thing to be your true, genuine self. That will hopefully attract people who are also themselves and just attract more genuine friendships into your life. My next tip is body language, and this is so important. Your body language is everything. I think I've spoken about this a fair few times here as well, but it is having your shoulders back. It is having a really proud stance about you. It is having your chin up when you're speaking. It is having eye contact. It is maintaining eye contact. It is smiling when you're talking to the person. It is making sure that when you're having a conversation, your arms aren't crossed or your legs aren't crossed. My legs are crossed while I record the podcast, but have an open stance. Be willing to let people know that you're ready to have a conversation or that you're able to have a conversation and that you're not closed off to it. Because if someone sees you crossing your arms like this, they're probably going to think, well, she doesn't want to speak to me. Like, if I'm standing there looking at you like that, you're going to think she doesn't want to speak to me, right? So have the open body language, have the open shoulders. It's really just encouraging that energy for others to possibly come up to you and start that conversation. And then my last tip is to be patient. because building confidence or a skill like this does take time, but it is absolutely possible. And just give yourself that time and grace. It can take a while to form meaningful connections. It can take a while to get comfortable in new environments or talking to people, especially if this is not something that comes naturally to you. But be patient with yourself and allow yourself to just move at your own pace. Okay. And I think I would love for anybody else in the group, if you have any tips that I've missed, please come and share them. I know that there's heaps, and I should probably do a whole episode on this because I feel like I could talk about it forever. We would really love to hear your tips as well. And yeah, just a reminder that it takes time, and building friendships takes time. Getting comfortable in this setting takes time. And you will eventually, over time, find that you become more confident. But good luck. And hopefully, some other people listening can come and share their tips as well. Question number 3 is, how do you get over feeling sad after the weekend ends and the new week starts? I felt down all day. Now, this came through last night in the AMA, and I don't think I've put it in before. So I was excited to put it in because this is literally Sunday scaries. And to this listener, I'm so sorry that you felt down yesterday, which was Monday, and I'm so sorry that you may have felt down on Sunday night. But Sunday scaries is no joke. It is literally a thing. And it is that feeling of, I guess, dread or worry ahead of a new week. And it's a real thing because what happens is it's that transition. Often we will leave the weekend where we've done really fun things, or we've done something really exciting or even relaxing, or just been out of our routine. And then we're going back into structure. We're going back into responsibility. We might be going back to work or to routine. And so I don't always think if you're experiencing this, you need to like quit your job or it means that you're in the wrong field or something's gone wrong. There are definitely things you can do to alleviate the Sunday scaries and try to manage it a little bit better. So I'll give you some of my tips. The first one is to have something to tackle the Sunday scaries. And it's funny because a lot of you might watch my Sunday vlog on YouTube. And a lot of the time when I've tried to like change the day, I've gotten like a little bit of hesitation from you guys because you say that the vlog on Sunday or the video on Sunday is part of your routine and it stops the Sunday scaries, which I think is really sweet. I'm not saying go and watch my vlog, but having something that you can do on a Sunday night. Maybe it's cooking like your favorite meal. Maybe you're putting on one of your favorite movies. Maybe you're doing a little bit of a self-care pamper night at home on a Sunday night to prep for the week ahead. But really looking at any ways that you can engage in hobbies or activities or things that you can do to alleviate some of that panic and try to make Sunday nights look and feel better to you. That can look different for everybody, but it will help you just make the most of that weekend and set you up for the Monday. Secondly, I want you to look at your routine during the work week. Look at what you do on a Monday, look at what you do for the rest of the week. Are there any little ways that you can add joy or make yourself feel better during that? Maybe it looks like listening to some of your favorite music on the commute to work. Maybe you are planning to do something on your lunch break each day. There was a recent post in the Facebook group about somebody having a set amount of time for their lunch break and they wanted to like make the most out of it. You can go back and take some inspiration from there. Maybe you want to include some journaling or meditation or breathing exercises, or maybe you just want to make yourself a really yummy breakfast, or maybe you want to make yourself some really yummy lunches for the week so you can start to look forward to that. Obviously, doing things like this can alleviate some of that dread and have something to look forward to. And I would really recommend trying to do this because that will just mean that you're able to look forward to the week and get into a better mindset ahead of that week starting. The last tip is probably the main one, and this is to have a look and see if you can figure out where the root cause is coming from. So at the start, I said, I don't think you need to quit your job, and I don't think you do. But if you are really unhappy, or if it has something to do with your work related stress, or maybe some like dissatisfaction in your career, then potentially the tips I gave you at the start may not help. Okay. And so sometimes if there is an underlying cause, I think you do need to explore it and you do need to address that. For the most part, it might just be tweaking our routine or tweaking things to add joy and making things a little bit more enjoyable. But if you have to address those underlying issues, that is okay too. Obviously, I have to say this, but if you are having like fluctuations in your mood and your emotions, that is okay and that is very normal. But if it is ongoing and it is really impacting your ability to live day to day, then please seek professional help and chat to your GP or chat to a therapist, because they could also potentially help you and see if you need some more professional support. Good luck. Sending you so much love. I would love to hear from you guys what you do if you get Sunday scaries. I still get Sunday scaries as well. And I think it just goes to show it doesn't really matter what you do for work. It can be a very normal thing, but there can also be things that we can do to help. And guys, I'm actually going to wrap it there. I do have another question, but I'm going to carry that forward for next week because I've looked at the time and I am running over. So I'm going to wrap the show. I hope that you loved it. If you did enjoy it, please share it on your story. Please tag us and please share it with somebody that you love. I always say this, but word of mouth helps the podcast more than you know. Whenever I go to say word of mouth, I can't say mouth. What the hell? And if you haven't, please leave us a review on Apple. Please leave us a rating on Spotify. I love seeing them and I just appreciate your support so much. Guys, if you're not already, also follow us on Instagram, Your Safe Space Pod. Join the Facebook group, Your Safe Space Podcast Community. And yeah, I'll see you on Sunday. Have a good weekend. Bye.